Heyo, John Lee Dumas here of Entrepreneur on Fire, the #1 business podcast, and you are listening to the How to Quit Working show by Jeff Steinman, where you'll hear insights, stories, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs who quit their job and started a business. Prepare to ignite.
This is the How to Quit Working show. Jeff Steinman believes entrepreneurship is the only true path to freedom. That's why he created the How to Quit Working show, where you'll hear stories, insights, and inspiration from lifestyle fanatics who left their soul-sucking 9-to-5 job forever. Now, here's your host, author, entrepreneur, and ultimate lifestyle fanatic, Jeff Steinman.
Hello and welcome to the How to Quit Working show. You know, as always, we've got a really fun show coming up today. A couple of really important topics that we're going to talk about. Now, first of all, Heather in her weekly segment is going to talk about craziness in life. What do you do when life just gets crazy insane? If there's one thing that I know about the How to Quit Working listeners and fans is that you are a busy bunch of people. Most of you have families. Most all of you have full-time jobs, and most all of you have other things, whether that's church activities or not-for-profits. You all have things that or hobbies. You all have a number of things that are competing for your time. And I understand that can make things get really, really crazy. And Heather is somebody who's really got all of that stuff to deal with herself. She runs multiple businesses. She coaches. She has kids. She is married. She has all these things going on in her life. And she's really figured out how to balance all of that stuff and be successful. She's going to give you some tips for dealing with that craziness, especially around the holidays, because we do have Christmas coming up, as well as I know we have listeners who will be celebrating Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, all kinds of other great stuff. So we all have even more craziness coming up in our lives over the next week or so. And then I'm going to talk on today's show about this whole idea of following the masses and what happens when you follow the masses, and more importantly, what happens when you don't follow the masses, because that's a topic that I'm quite passionate about, because one of the things that I have found in my life, and I'm not the first person to say this, so by no means am I taking credit for this idea, but you know, when you follow the masses, you get the results that the masses get. And we're in a world where the masses, in other words, most people, that's like 80%, to cite some actual statistics that you can see at howtoquitworking.com/stats, 80% of people hate their jobs, and they're miserable in their life, and they're not feeling satisfied and fulfilled, and that's just not okay. So let's talk about how can you not be one of those people. Now, while we're on the topic of not being one of the masses, there's a bunch of people who are not part of the masses. They are part of the small group of people who see that there's a different way. You see that there's a different way of doing life besides just going to a job that you don't like and putting up with that crap for 40 plus hours a week and then retiring after you do that thing for 45 years. The place where you can find some people like that is on the How to Quit Working Facebook group, and you can get there at howtoquitworking.com/group. There's no cost to join. There's no obligation. There's no nothing. In fact, it's completely confidential. The people that you work with, your family, your friends on Facebook, nobody on Facebook can see what you do or what you say or that you joined the How to Quit Working group on Facebook. So just go to howtoquitworking.com/group and click on join group and jump in the conversation and make some new friends and hang out with some people who want the same things out of life that you want and that view life in the same way that you do. It's a great place. It's a fun place. I love hanging out there, and I know that folks who are there also really enjoy it and find themselves really inspired by the content and the conversations that we have over there. So howtoquitworking.com/group is where you can go to get all of that. Now, let's jump into this topic of following the masses, or I should say, not following the masses, which is really the important thing. I jotted down a couple of examples as I was preparing for the show. I jotted down a couple of examples of kind of common conceptions or common things that people say. And, you know, I've gotten to the point where I when I hear these things, because when you kind of stepped out of the norm, and you don't live a life that is really normal in any way. My lifestyle, I'm not suggesting that it's some grand, spectacular thing. I'm pretty happy with it, but it is different than, and I would argue better than, 95% of the population, right? I mean, what my life looks like as an entrepreneur, and any entrepreneur's life looks like, is very different. And when you step out of that, that paradigm, you step out of that normal way of doing things, and you begin doing things differently. You begin looking at things from a different perspective and having a different experience. You really get some insights, and you start to look at the way everybody else does things, and you start to think, wow, why would anyone do it like that when you could do it this way? So as I've moved along my journey, I've noticed that I really scratched my head looking at some of the very common, normal things that we do. And a perfect example of this, and you can send me emails and tell me that you disagree all day, I don't care, but is this whole idea of college, and this whole idea that we have to send our kids to college, and that they have to get a college degree, and that's important, and that is the thing that's going to make them successful or not make them successful. And what we have is, we have an education system that is completely failing nearly everyone that goes through it. I mean, just ask anybody under 30 who has a college degree and has tried to get a job in the past 5 or 10 years. It's just not working, and it's getting more and more expensive. Yet we continue, the masses, again, continue to believe that the right thing for their children is to go to college and to come out of that probably with a ridiculous amount of debt for something that's not really going to get you anything. In fact, as a friend of mine put it, he said a bachelor's degree and a nickel gets you a nickel's worth of bubble gum. And I think that's a really that's a blunt but quite accurate way of putting it. Now, this isn't to make this an anti-college show. I think that I've been pretty clear on the How to Quit Working show, how I feel about the importance and the necessity of college. But my point here is to talk about the idea that you have to have a different perspective, and whether you agree with me on that college thing or not, think about it from the standpoint of this. And I think this is really the key core message that I want you to take away from this show. And what that is that when you look at the world and you look at the common conversations that you have around the water cooler, that you have at your holiday parties, that you have with your family at your family events, that you have with your friends while you're watching football, or whatever you do with your friends, that there's a common rhetoric, right? There's a common tone of, I really don't like working this job, I really wish that I could spend more time doing what I actually want to do. And then kind of a common life sucks kind of a tone that you hear over and over in these conversations. And when you really step back and look at it, you realize that that's a majority of our population that has that view, that they really don't like their life, and they really don't like what they do every day, and they really wish there was something different, but they don't believe there is. And that's why we have statistics that say that 70-80% of people are dissatisfied in their job. And I think there's a stat at howtoquitworking.com/stats that talks about happiness. And 2/3 of Americans don't feel as though they're as happy as they could be. So when you think about it, that's the masses, right? That's the masses that we're talking about. And you have two choices, right? You can think and act like they do, or you could think and act differently, right? And I want to talk about some of the common, and there's a million of these, but just a couple of the common things that we hear people say in society that indicates that you're part of the masses. And indicates for you, as someone who is very interested in breaking away from the masses and breaking away from the viewpoint of the masses, something that you should maybe really challenge. And I'm going to help you challenge some of these things here, but I want to run through a couple of these common things that the masses say that I wrote on the back of this envelope here as I was getting ready for the show. This is my preparation for the show, is an envelope. It's a piece of mail that isn't even for me that I decided to just start writing on. So couple of these things here. The first one is, and Robert Kiyosaki talks about this in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and it's such a great illustration because I think we've all heard it. But he talks about, he teaches people how to invest in real estate. And he talks about this thing that he hears people say commonly, which is, I don't want to own rental property because I don't want to fix toilets, right? How many times have you heard that, right? Have you heard someone, you're talking about, oh, maybe I should, buy a duplex or buy an apartment building, and then, the person around the table or wherever, or the water cooler, wherever you're having this conversation, that person jumps in and they say, well, I don't want to do that because I don't want to get called at 3 a.m. to fix a toilet. Well, the point that Robert Kiyosaki makes, which I think is quite poignant, is that, well, he doesn't either. He owns hundreds or maybe even thousands of rental properties, and he doesn't fix toilets. That's what we have management companies for. So again, look at how, we all know that like the most successful, the most wealthy people own real estate. There's no question about that. That's just since the dawn of time, investing in real estate has just been a solid staple thing. And there's temporary ups and downs in the real estate downturn that we had from like 2007 until the last couple of years is a once in a lifetime thing that probably none of us will ever see in our lifetime. But when you look at really the larger picture, and you look at over the longer term of the consistent pattern of people who are extremely financially successful investing in real estate, whether that's their primary business or not, you'll see the clear pattern that successful, wealthy people own real estate, period. There's no question about it. So the masses, however, will say, I don't want to do that because I don't want to fix toilets. Right? Well, all the successful people who own real estate also do not fix toilets. They have a management company that does that for them, or they have somebody that they've hired to do that for them. And they just kind of scratch their head when they hear people say they don't want to own real estate because they don't want to fix toilets. So example number one of how you really can challenge the common conception and start to think differently. And again, I'm just giving you examples. Like this isn't an exhaustive list of every single way in which you should challenge the status quo. This is just some examples to kind of get you thinking. So another one that I want to throw out there is this whole idea that you need a lot of money to start a business, right? So I hear this all the time, and when you're the author of a book called How to Quit Working, every time you're in a social situation and somebody, asks you what you do, you tell them, and then it starts a conversation, right? And it starts a conversation with a lot of different people. So I hear this constantly, and it gets really annoying. But, I say, yeah, I'm going to author this book, How to Quit Working. And then I'll say, oh, that's an interesting title. What's that all about? And I'll say, well, it's all about quitting your job and starting a business. And then the response is almost always, oh, yeah, I'd love to do that. But, I just don't have any money. And that just kills me because we have example after example after example of people who started a business. We had somebody on the show a couple months ago. I think she was from Canada, and she started a business with like 68 or 268, $275 or something, some insanely small amount of money like that. And the fact of the matter is, starting a business is just about identifying a product or service that people want, and then delivering that product or service to them. And you've got to be able to think creatively and to think differently about how you actually identify that product and how you deliver it to them. We had, this was, I think last Monday, we had a guy on the show who had created some video gaming software, and there was a considerable amount of expense in purchasing the hardware that was used as part of this video gaming 3D video gaming platform, whatever it was that he created. And we had a great conversation on the show about, well, how do, because he bootstrapped the entire company, right? And his name is escaping me for some reason. I'll link the episode up below. I just cannot think of this guy's name, but it was a fairly recent episode. But I asked him the question. I was like, well, how did you if you bootstrapped the company, how did you get the money to invest in all of this hardware that you needed to ship to your customers? And he said, well, in the beginning, what we did was we actually bought it in very small quantities and paid considerably more for it because we were buying it in small quantities and maybe not even buying it wholesale. You may have been buying it retail, and they had very small profits in the beginning, but it was necessary to do that because they didn't have the product understood and developed and tested well enough to justify the commitment of going out and getting capital and purchasing, hundreds or thousands of these units of hardware that they needed in order to make this product work. So I hope that makes sense. My point is that what they did was they purchased in very small quantities, so that and sold it at a very small profit in the beginning to test the idea out before they actually went in and purchased in larger quantities. They made sure that they had it proven out first. So that did a couple of things for them. What that did was, number one, is it reduced drastically their need for capital, right? So they didn't need a ton of capital to go out and buy hundreds or thousands of these units. It also allowed them to prove out the idea without taking on a lot of risk. Because what if they had bought these hundreds or thousands of these units and then nobody liked it? Or they had to modify the product where it used different hardware or something like that. So this was a really good way to get it going, and it didn't require a lot of capital, right? And that's not to say here's a specific formula for how you should go about this. That's to say, here's a way that somebody looked outside the box, right? Here's a way that somebody said that, no, I don't think that it takes a lot of money to start a business. I think I can start a business without a lot of money. And he was very successful. He's a multi-million-dollar business now. So if you want more on that, click below the episode. I'll link it up below that, because, like I said, I just cannot remember this guy's name for whatever reason. So so there's another way of challenging the way the masses think. And see, that's why that guy has a multi-million-dollar business and the masses are working jobs for somebody else, because he was able to challenge that common mentality. I always think about it like this. When I'm looking at something and I'm thinking about something and I'm thinking, okay, what's the right answer here? I ask myself, if I was at a cocktail party, not a cocktail party with a bunch of entrepreneurs, but a cocktail party with just a bunch of common people, and I threw an idea out, what would most people say? Well, what most people would say is the answer that will get you right back to where most people are, in a job, 9 to 5, doing something they don't like, without as much money as they want, not going to retire until they're 65. So that's the question that you have to ask yourself, is what is the answer that the masses would give? And when you look at what that answer is, run the other way if you don't want to be like them, right? So if you want to be like that, then do exactly what they say. But if you want to be different, then do something different. And then finally, I don't want to go into a lot of detail on this one, but this is a really important one. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail because it's a huge topic and one that I'm very passionate about. And I'll talk for hours if I don't control myself on this one. And it's probably really good for another episode. But this whole idea that money doesn't grow on trees. And that's the saying that we have all heard. We all grew up with that refrain running through our head. Money doesn't grow on trees. Money is a scarce commodity. Money is something that is hard to get. And that is the common mentality. That's what those people at that cocktail party would say. They would say, money doesn't grow on trees. It's hard to make money. We don't have enough money. There's not enough money to go around. That refrain is what keeps them poor and working jobs that they don't like and having to work those jobs for 45 years before they can retire. So that's a whole another topic and another show, and there's a lot of really great books on that. But the point is, you can't have that mentality. You cannot have that money is scarce mentality, because that's the mentality that the masses have. And if you have that mentality, you will end up like the masses. So it's your choice. Have that mentality, be like the masses, or change the way that you think about money and change the result that you get as it relates to money. In summary, just don't think and do what the masses do. Every single result that you have in your life is the sum of a lot of really small decisions that you make. If you look at anything, the place that you live, the job that you have, the family that you have, whether that is good or bad, whether you like it or not, it is the sum of a lot of really small decisions that you've made. You made a lot of really small decisions along the way that eventually got you to where you are. And if you continue to make those decisions like the masses do, you will continue to end up in a place that is similar to where the masses are. So flip it around. Ask yourself, what would those people at that cocktail party, sports bar, coffee shop, whatever it is, wherever it is that you can picture yourself interacting with people from the masses of society, ask yourself, what would they say? What would they do? Run the other way. Now, let's talk to Heather Osgood. She's going to talk about chaos and just all the craziness that happens in our lives, and how do you deal with that, and how do you deal with that in particular when you are working a full-time job and trying to start a business and probably got a family to raise and all kinds of crazy stuff going on around the holidays. So Heather, take it away.
Hello, Freedom Fanatics. This is Heather Osgood, and I'm so pleased to be with you today. I hope that you're having a wonderful day. I have had a crazy day today. I live in a wonderful older home, and I had the real pleasure today of having all of the plumbing and sewer in my house ripped out to be replaced. So today has just been crazy. One of the pleasures of working from home is that when you have anything going on at home, you get to be right in the middle of it, which is so much fun. So today, it just like constant noise all day, saws going and people hammering on things. And it was just a crazy, crazy day. And it wasn't the end of what's to come for us. So exciting. But it really got me just thinking about just the craziness of life. The reality is that you're going to have craziness in life. Things get chaotic, things get overwhelming. And the reality is that's just life. You're always going to have some sort of issue. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about the idea of managing the craziness in your life. So when you think about kind of just the ongoing chaos that is life for most everyone, you want to really think about your priorities, what's really important to you. And the only way that you can really get clear on your priorities is getting clear on what it is that you actually want. So when you have that clear lifestyle blueprint, when you're really clear on your purpose, then you can really get clear on your priorities. So today for me was just a constant prioritization of what am I doing and why am I doing it and how can I focus in and amongst all of this noise and all of, the chaos that is happening. And not only did I have the plumbing that's being worked on, it's going to be Christmas here coming up. The holidays are upon us. And so there's just this constant, pressure that I have so much going on in order to pull off a successful holiday for my children, in order to manage the household and run a business on top of it. So there's a lot that goes into that, and coming up with really clear priorities is super important. I was really thankful that this morning when I got up that I really went through my to-do list, that I put some real prioritization in that list of what I wanted to do first and what was most important. And what was really cool for me today was that my daughter and I baked Christmas cookies, and at the top of my list was to pass out Christmas cookies to our friends and neighbors. And so that was something something that I could have easily today just said, you know what, that's not really something I have time for, but I made that a priority and it made me really happy that I did that. So not only did I get to spend some great time with my daughter and do this kind of real fun activity with her, I also got a whole lot of work done today. I felt really productive, and I am really ending my day on this really positive note, being here with you and feeling very fulfilled that I did do a lot today, and just really happy in that place. So when you're thinking about trying to navigate through craziness, think about really putting the priorities into place. The next thing that is really important is being able to create space for yourself. So in and amongst all of the chaos that is life, how can you carve out a space for yourself? And whether that's maybe putting on a pair of headphones and listening to some relaxing music, or music that allows you to become focused, whether it's maybe going in a back bedroom, or if you have the luxury of having a home office, or perhaps you have a job where you've got some extra time at your job and you have the ability to really maybe do some tasks on your lunch break or your break times. Really creating that space for yourself is super important. And so whatever you need to do in life to create that space for you to really live out your dreams, really think about creating that for yourself and making that something that's really important, that you're not going to compromise on, that you're really going to create kind of a serenity around yourself through the craziness. The next thing that's really important is it's really important to say no to things. Now, with the holidays, there's a ton of really fun activities and a ton of things that you could do. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I've had to say no to some things this holiday season. I've had to say no to some parties, and I've had to make the choice that really all the pleasure that maybe an activity would bring to me, it's not offset by the pain that it's creating in my life by creating more chaos, by creating more busyness, and really the idea that there's just more to do. So really filtering through the activities, and again, going back to your priorities and your purpose. And if you're really working on building a business, you have to create some space in your life to go out there and pursue those dreams of having a business. And that does come down to just saying no to things. You're going to have to say, no, I can't do this. That isn't something I can take on right now. And understanding the difference between what you should say no to and what you should say yes to. Because there's often times when you should say yes to things that are the right activities that are really contributing to moving you forward in your process of getting your business started. But really understanding those times when you need to say no is extremely important. The next thing that I have found has been really helpful for me is just admitting that life isn't simple. Life is not going to be simple for me for a very long time. I don't know where you're at in your journey. You could be an empty nester. You could be single. You might have simplicity. You might have a lot of space and a lot of time. But for myself, space and time are just not things that come to me easily. I'm constantly surrounded by people, be it my children, my spouse, my friends, my family, which is awesome, and I totally enjoy it, but I don't have a lot of alone time and I don't have a lot of space. And so really I have complexity, because with every person that comes into my life, that adds a level of complexity. Each person has their problems and their issues and their needs and their wants, and it's my job to try and figure out how I can interact with that person and give them what they need while still allowing myself to have the time and the space that I need to create my dreams and live my dreams. And so I've really had to accept the fact that life isn't simple, that life is going to bring you complexities and that you're going to have issues. I feel like for me right now, it's just a constant stream of things breaking. Our house feels like it's just falling down around us, where if it's not one thing, it's another. You know, if we don't have problems with our plumbing, we're having problems with our computers. And if we're not having problems with our computers, we're having problems with our smartphones. And if we're not having problems with our smartphones, we're having problems with our heater. You know what I mean? It's just been one thing after another for us. And that just brings into light the concept that it's not simple. You're going to have issues and you're going to have to deal with those issues. And part of the reason I really wanted to bring this up today is because I think there's a lot of you out there who are just waiting on the cusp. You're like, when is the right moment going to be for me to start my business? When can I really take that step and that leap out? And I want to tell you, and I just want to be really honest with you, there's never going to be a good time for you to start your business. There's always going to be complexities. There's always going to be craziness. There's always going to be chaos. Life is just not simple and it's not easy. And so if you're thinking, gosh, I'm just going to wait until we get through the busy season at work, or I'm just going to wait until, we get through the holiday season, or I'm just going to wait until after first quarter, because first quarter is, typically maybe a slower time. Whatever your excuse is, whatever you're telling yourself today is the reason that you can't start your business. I want you to know that that's just an excuse. It's just something you're creating in yourself to really not allow you to live that dream. And you have to get started. You have to take the first steps to really creating the business. So wherever you're at in your process right now, if you've just got the dream, if you maybe have your idea, but you have no execution plan, or maybe you have your plan, maybe you've done your research, maybe you've got the business plan, and really the only thing left for you right now is just picking up the phone and making phone calls, or maybe you're in the process where you really just have the last steps that you need to put together on your website. Take that action. Make that a priority. You have to do that. There isn't anybody else in the world who's going to make it as important as you can make it. And it's something that you need to do, and you need to do it for yourself, and you need to do it for your family. So take that step. And it doesn't have to be a huge step. It just has to be a step. So if something is holding you back, figure out why you're feeling held back. If you're feeling held back because of the craziness of life, because of the chaos of life, or the busyness of life, don't let that be an excuse for you. All it is really just a deference to you having the capabilities of creating your dream and creating your business. And in most cases, it does boil down to fear. And so if that's really what's holding you back, you have to push through that. You have to take that step. And it's not going to be an easy step, but it's an important step. And if you're really serious with yourself, if you're really, really committed to wanting this more than you want anything else in life, you have to go out there and you have to get it. Now, it may not be easy. It may be really hard, but you have to take that step. So I want you to realize that you're the one that's in control. You're the one that can change your life. You're the only one who can change your life. And it doesn't matter if life is crazy. It doesn't matter if it's chaotic. It doesn't matter if your plumbing just went out, or your water heater broke, or your car died, or you lost your job, or anything else. Those are all just excuses. They're excuses that you're making to defer what is hard for you to do. And it's hard for you to do it because it feels a little overwhelming and maybe just a little unsettling, something that's unknown. But you have what it takes to create the business that you need to create. So I just want to encourage you to go out and really take the steps that you need to take. And if you're concerned that you don't know what steps to take, if you feel like you're in a place where you're just totally kind of immobilized by really not knowing what to do, there are lots of resources out there. I'm really excited to have been working on putting together a great CD for you. And if you're interested in getting this free CD that we have for you, we would love to send it out. Just send me a message either via the website, howtoquitworking.com, or through Facebook. I would love to send the CD out to you that has the first steps to really get started in the process. And the next thing to really consider is if you feel totally immobilized, give me a call, shoot me an email. I'm here and I'm a total resource to you. If you have a question, I would love to answer that question for you. I'm open and I'm available anytime you want to talk. You're more than welcome to call me. Like I said, email me, message me, reach out to me, because I am here to help and I really want to motivate you to get that business started. If you're thinking you really need more help than that, maybe it's time to do a coaching session with me. I would love to talk to you in person. So I hope that all of this is an encouragement to you, and I hope that you can really get out there and push yourself to do what you need to do. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you very soon.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the How to Quit Working show. I look forward to talking to you again next week. Now, we're going to have a brand new show on Monday. This is a really, really cool one that I'm really excited about. And then we're going to go into our holiday break, so we're going to have a couple of best of episodes of the How to Quit Working show. They're old episodes, so I encourage you to still listen because, they're from back in the days when nobody listened to the How to Quit Working show. We had some great content back in the early days when we didn't have any listeners. Now we got thousands of listeners, so I like to drag that content out, that great stuff out, and replay it for you. So enjoy those beginning on the Wednesday, December 24th, and then going through the New Year's with the best of episodes. But on this coming Monday, another brand new episode, which you're going to love. Now, speaking of not following the masses, as we talked about here, and dealing with all the crazy chaos in your life, maybe you'd like some help and some support in that, and that is what we are here for at How to Quit Working. If you want to get more information about How to Quit Working coaching, go to howtoquitworking.com/coaching and get more information about and see what we can do for you there, because we are really quite able to and already are transforming and have transformed some lives in a really big way. And I would love it if you would be the next life that we can transform into something amazing that lets you do what you want to do every single day. Speaking of doing what you want to do every single day, do that this weekend. Do what the hell you want to do. Have a great weekend, and I will see you back here on Monday.
Thanks for joining us on the How to Quit Working show. Tune in next time when we'll talk to another amazing person just like you who is now living the ultimate life of freedom and doing it on their terms. If you want to learn how to quit working and get these episodes delivered directly to you, visit howtoquitworkingshow.com.